Imagine standing on the edge of a cliff, below uncertainty, risk, the unknown. Your heart races, your mind floods with what if. That, my friends, is fear. But here's the secret. Fear isn't your enemy, it's your fuel. Every successful entrepreneur, every business titan has faced fear. Tony Robbins calls it the signal of growth, the moment when your comfort zone ends and your potential begins. Too often we let fear paralyze us, stop us from taking the next bold step, from launching that idea, from investing in ourselves. But what if you could flip the switch? What if you could harness fear, turn it into a rocket fuel that propels your business forward instead of holding you back? Today I'm going to show you exactly how to do that. Stick with me till the end, because the lessons I'm about to share will change the way you see fear forever and transform it into the secret weapon behind your business growth. Lesson 1. Recognize fear as a signal, not a stop sign. To truly master the landscape of entrepreneurship, one must first dismantle the archaic notion that fear is a biological red light designed to halt progress. In our ancestral past, fear was a survival mechanism meant to keep us from being eaten by predators. In the modern boardroom, however, that same physiological response is often triggered by the prospect of a cold call or a product launch. When you feel that tightening in your chest or the sudden rush of adrenaline, your instinct is to retreat to the familiar. Yet if you audit the most successful pivots in business history, you will find they occurred precisely at the moment the founder felt the most trepidation. Fear is not an omen of impending doom, it is an incredibly sophisticated internal GPS system. It pinpoints exactly where your comfort zone ends and where your untapped potential begins. If a project doesn't scare you at least a little bit, it likely isn't big enough to move the needle on your legacy. By recognizing fear as a signal, you stop viewing it as an enemy to be defeated and start viewing it as a compass to be followed. The nuance of this shift lies in the realization that the magnitude of your fear is usually directly proportional to the magnitude of the opportunity at hand. We don't feel deep, visceral fear about things that are trivial or inconsequential. We feel it when we are on the precipice of something that could fundamentally alter our identity or our financial trajectory. Therefore, the presence of fear is actually a form of validation. It is proof that you are playing for high stakes. When you encounter a barrier that makes your heart race, you must learn to lean into that sensation with curiosity rather than dread. Ask yourself, why is my nervous system reacting this way? Usually it's because the subconscious recognizes that crossing this threshold requires a version of you that doesn't exist yet. This recognition allows you to detach from the emotion and treat it as data. You are no longer a victim of your anxiety, you are an explorer interpreting a map. The stop sign is an illusion. The signal is the reality of your impending expansion. Lesson 2. Reframe fear into action. The most debilitating aspect of fear isn't the emotion itself, but the paralysis that often follows it. When we allow fear to sit in the driver's seat, it tends to manifest as analysis paralysis, where we overplan, overthink, and under-execute in a desperate attempt to feel safe. To break this cycle, you must understand that every fear carries within it a hidden, actionable seed. If you are afraid of your business failing, that fear is likely highlighting a specific area of weakness, perhaps a lack of diversified revenue or an untested marketing strategy. Instead of letting that fear cloud your vision, you must perform a fear audit. Write down the specific nightmare scenarios that keep you up at night. Once they are externalized on paper, they lose their spectral power and become tangible problems to be solved. By identifying the what, you can immediately deduce the how. Reframing fear into action is the process of taking the energy spent on worry and redirecting it into a concrete task that mitigates the risk you're afraid of. Momentum is the ultimate antidote to anxiety because fear cannot survive in an environment of movement. While you are standing still, fear has the space to grow, fueled by what-ifs and worst-case scenarios. However, the moment you take even a microscopic step, sending that one email, making that one difficult phone call, or drafting the first page of a proposal, the brain shifts from the amygdala's fight-or-flight response to the prefrontal cortex's problem-solving mode. Small wins accumulate, creating a psychological snowball effect that eventually outweighs the original apprehension. You don't need a grand strategy to defeat fear, you only need the next logical step. By consistently choosing action over hesitation, You train your brain to associate uncertainty with productivity. Over time, this becomes your default setting. You begin to realize that the monster of fear was actually just a shadow cast by your own stillness, and as you move toward it, the shadow shrinks until it disappears entirely. Lesson 3. Change your physiology. It is a fundamental biological truth that your mind and body exist in a continuous feedback loop. You cannot have a courageous mind in a defeated body. Tony Robbins often highlights that our state, the emotional and mental condition we are in at any given moment, is largely dictated by our physical posture and breathing patterns. If you are hunched over, breathing shallowly and looking down, you are essentially giving your brain the biological cues for depression and fear. In this physiological state, it is nearly impossible to access your creative genius or your entrepreneurial grit. To change your mind, you must first change your machinery. By standing tall, pulling your shoulders back, and taking deep diaphragmatic breaths, you force a change in your neurochemistry. This isn't positive thinking in a vacuum, it is an intentional manipulation of your endocrine system to lower cortisol and increase testosterone and dopamine, the chemicals of confidence and drive. Physical action transforms mental fear into clarity because it breaks the pattern of rumination. When you are stuck in a loop of fearful thoughts, your physiology is usually stagnant. Radical movement, whether it's a power pose, a brisk walk, or a high-intensity workout, interrupts that neural circuit. It forces the brain to process physical input rather than theoretical threats. This is why many of the world's top performers have rigorous morning routines that involve cold plunges, heavy lifting, or intense breath work. They are priming their bodies to be resilient against the inevitable stresses of the day. You cannot wait to feel confident before you act. You must move your body into a confident position, and the feeling will follow as a biological necessity. When your body moves with energy and certainty, your mind interprets that movement as safety. The fear doesn't necessarily go away, but it is no longer the dominant frequency in your system, allowing your inner leader to reclaim the microphone. Lesson 4. Focus on contribution, not consequences. One of the greatest traps of the ego is the obsession with what if I fail, or what will they think of me. This self-centric focus is the primary fuel for fear. When we are worried about the consequences of our actions, we are usually worried about our own reputation, our own comfort, or our own bank account. To dissolve fear, you must perform a mission shift from self-preservation to external contribution. When you shift your mindset to how can I serve my clients, or how can this product solve a real human problem, your ego takes a back seat. Fear is an ego-driven emotion. Contribution is a purpose-driven mission. When the purpose is large enough, it acts as a shield against the slings and arrows of personal doubt. You aren't just an entrepreneur trying to make a buck. You are a solution provider on a mission to improve lives. This higher calling provides a level of psychological immunity that consequence thinking can never offer. When your mission becomes bigger than your fear, the fear doesn't disappear, but it becomes irrelevant. Think of a parent running into a burning building to save a child. They aren't fearless, but their commitment to the rescue is so absolute that the fear of the fire is secondary to the mission of the save. In business, your child is the impact your work has on the world. If you truly believe that your service or product can change a life, then withholding it because you're scared of a bad review or a failed launch actually becomes an act of selfishness. By focusing on the value you provide, you move from a state of getting to a state of giving. Giving is a high vibration state that naturally crowds out the low vibration frequency of fear. You become a conduit for your work rather than a guardian of your image. This shift provides the ultimate clarity. If the goal is to help others, then even a failure is simply a lesson in how to help them better next time. Lesson 5. Celebrate fear as growth's friend. The final stage of mastering fear is to stop resenting its presence and start celebrating it as a reliable indicator of growth. In the gym, we know that muscle only grows when it is pushed to the point of failure and tension. The burn is the proof of progress. In the world of personal and professional development, fear is that psychological burn. Every time you step into a situation that scares you, you are stretching your mental and emotional limits. If you never felt fear, it would mean you were operating entirely within the boundaries of what you already know, which is the definition of stagnation. Therefore, a day without fear is a day without growth. You must learn to welcome fear as the guest who only shows up when something important is about to happen. By reframing fear as growth's friend, you build a positive association with discomfort that allows you to sustain high performance over the long haul. True resilience comes from the habit of reflection and reward following a fearful encounter. After you have faced a fear, regardless of the immediate outcome, you must take the time to acknowledge the courage it took to act. This reinforces the courage muscle and teaches your subconscious that you are the kind of person who handles uncertainty with grace. Reflect on what the fear taught you. Did you realize you were more prepared than you thought? Did you find out that the worst-case scenario wasn't actually that bad? By analyzing the fear after the fact, you strip it of its mystery and its power for future encounters. Fear becomes a teacher, not a tyrant, providing you with a curriculum for self-mastery. When you reach this level of maturity, you no longer run from the shadows, you walk toward them with a smile, knowing that on the other side of that temporary discomfort lies the next version of your greatest self. Fear is not the enemy of success, it's the gateway. Every breakthrough you've ever dreamed of, every business milestone begins at the edge of fear. Tony Robbins reminds us that your comfort zone is a beautiful place, but nothing grows there. Your real growth happens when you lean into fear, when you act despite the trembling in your hands and the doubts in your mind. By recognizing fear as a signal, reframing it into actionable steps, energizing your body, focusing on contribution, and celebrating each brave moment, you transform fear from a paralyzing force into unstoppable momentum. It becomes fuel that accelerates your business, strengthens your mindset, and builds your resilience. So the next time fear knocks on your door, don't hide, invite it in, study it, learn from it, and use it. Step boldly, act decisively. Fear isn't holding you back, it's pointing you forward. Remember, it's not about being fearless, it's about using fear to fire up your journey. Embrace it, harness it, and watch your business soar beyond what you ever imagined. The only limit is the courage to take that first step.